we are used to, in all our conferences, to host a panel discussion on the topic, every year's topic that is suggested by the World Usability Day. And this year, the topic is on the theme of emerging technologies and the human experience. Of course, this is a general topic, and I will give you a few, and along with George Karidakis, we will give you a few thoughts about that, and then we will pass the floor to the panelists. Let me first introduce our well-known panelists. We are very honored and happy to have them with us. Let's just read us the slide. It has been created. Mr. Alexandros Rosso is the Director of Design and Innovation at Kotsovolos, Athens, Greece. Irene Mavrommati is a Professor of Interaction Design, among other things, at the Open University of Patras, Greece. Kostas Boletsis is a Senior Researcher, and he comes from SINTEF, Oslo, Norway. And Maria Kontogiorgou is a UX Consultant and Strategist and CEO at Atride, and she comes from Syros, here in Greece. As I said before, the title of our panel discussion is on emerging technologies and the human experience. Emerging technologies like, for example, artificial intelligence, which was mainly the topic of the day today, augmented reality, immersive interfaces, mixed reality, and so on, are transforming human interactions, as we'll know, with digital systems and environments. And this happens every day at a very fast pace, I would say. So these innovations evolve. And sometimes even us, the academics or the researchers, we are struggling to follow up with the evolvements of all these technologies. And so it's crucial to prioritize several aspects of designing these technologies and the related services applications, like, for example, user privacy, trust, user trust, and of course maintain, let's say, so rapid and robust and trustworthy design approaches and principles for that. Of course, there's also in many of these technologies issues that are related to ethical considerations, issues that are related to, of course, the user experience, as we say, the usability, the accessibility of technologies and services. And in all these areas, we have invited the panelists in order to share their perspectives on this broad matter and perhaps share their own experiences from their activities in their companies or in their research institutes that they work on for several years now. So let me pass the floor to George Karidakis to present some ideas on this matter, and then we can go to the panelists.
Thank you for staying this late. So the World Usability Day used to be a landmark date for our community because we had the yearly meeting around this date and this topic. So emerging technologies, I think they're quite established technologies and forming a new human experience. But the real question is, are we building a better human experience using and adopting these technologies, or are we making our life more complex with less benefits and the result and the humans, the users? So up to the panelists. Thank you.
Okay, now you can hear me perhaps better. So hi, I'm Irene Mavrommati. I'm, as you heard before, I'm teaching in the Open University, the Hellenic Open University in the School of Applied Arts and Sustainable Design. And because this panel is about kind of trying to regulate AI technologies, to sum it up a bit, what I wanted to say as a kind of perspective or approach is not mine. This is Dr. Rachel Horst, the whole entanglement there, is that in terms of, I mean, the elephant is in the room is AI, really, yeah? So it's a system, and it's entangled, and there's no way of predicting what will come out of it. Any differentiation in any of the factors brings a differentiation in anything else. And there is no way of managing or controlling it or somehow regulating it. And perhaps regulating it is not something that the whole planet agrees on. There is differences in approaches. There's the bloom and the doom approach and all the in-between, let's say, continuum for AI literacy. In every decision, there's ecological implications. In terms of ethics and values that are influencing policies, they're not the same in any country. There's difference underlying principles and values in Asia than they are in Europe, than they are in America. I mean, the American perspective is obviously, let it happen and whatever becomes out of it, the survival of the fittest, Darwinian sort of way. The European approach is perhaps over-regulating it and trying to control it and trying to guide it. There's different approaches, different feels to it. Nevertheless, we cannot predict how people will evolve in this or how the systems will co-evolve in this. We need to understand not AI as skills, but AI as literacies, not literacy, literacies. We need to understand the diversity of perspectives, and we need to keep the discussion open about the implications and the fears and the hopes. There would be fears, there would be hopes. I mean, look at what happens now with the medical system in America, to give you an example. There's two sides fighting each other, not understanding each other, not really listening to each other at all. And the same kind of thing happens with AI. There's the doom and the bloom, and there's walls in between, and people don't understand each other. They don't perhaps talk to each other sometimes. What Dr. Horst has suggested, and I think I agree with this approach, is to not build walls, but have fences that you can jump and you can see through. To try and understand by talking and listening, and by talking and listening, you may learn something useful about the other side. What is more important if you want to talk and listen and have bridges and have transparency in order to see the other side as well and have an understanding, is to create spaces for diverse perspectives that will understand, that would be the understanding for the perspectives rather than try to seek consensus. Seeking consensus, I think, is not the way to go. What we need to do is perhaps create spaces, and I'm saying this coming from a creative education background, create spaces for play, for ambiguity, for creative disobedience, for the weird and the radical and the playful and the experimental. And through creativity, relationality and critical inquiry will emerge, and we should trust learners in this process to discover ways to make meaning. What is the most important of this, and a wise man in this room has actually once said something similar to me, and in a way he's our mentor of many of us, Nikos Avouris, is we need to trust people. We need to trust people that we need to trust people's innate desire to create meaning, and we need to trust the innate human creativity. And that's what I wanted to end up my talk. Hope I didn't overdo it with time.
That was perfect timing, actually. So yes, what we would like is about 3, 4, 5 minutes, your position or your thoughts, actually, and then we can go around with the audience also with us. So next speaker is panelist is Kostas Boletsis, and Costa, now we are also will be showing your slides. Have a couple of slides on some points coming up.
Yeah, mostly notes. So yeah. So essentially what you see here is a list of for immersive interfaces based on the icon is a list of positive and negative aspects. So as it happens with great advances that happen over a short period of time, there are always some good uses and some bad uses. So in this case, let's say for immersive interfaces, which is like one of the topics today, we have very nice uses like effective visualization of what-if scenarios, very nice entertainment experience in VR or augmented reality. We have nice training applications in safe environments. We have great forms of art and cultural expression. Some of those topics we touched upon today. On the other hand, I mean, it's sort of like a kitchen knife. You can use it to slice bread, and at the same time, you can use it to hurt someone. So on the other side, we have like mental health risks from detachment from reality. We have like limited socialization, definitely data privacy risks, digital divide based on limited accessibility to those XR or immersive interfaces, and also based on the age. And finally, physical discomfort, usually coming from non-familiarity with the technologies, and the environmental impact, usually coming from the data centers. No, the previous one. Yeah. Then we're going into artificial intelligence, another one of our topic in this panel. You pretty much know of all the positive things, and I'm sure most of us have experienced great moments using LLMs or any other kind of AI. Most of it being around data analysis, pattern recognition, simulation optimization, and also accessibility improvements like translation, automatic translation, and personalization aspects that weren't there in the past. At the same time, the very same technology can also lead to digital divide, can also create privacy risks. So this thing about data analysis and pattern recognition can be used for a bad cause. Environmental impact is used in this case, coming from data center, decline in human skills, since we don't use our brain so much. And most importantly, I think disinformation campaigns and user mistrust, so a lot of fake news, coming again from data analysis. And finally, mental health risks. So there are some common elements between immersive interfaces and artificial intelligence, some common problems that we as researchers and part of the academia, we need to address quickly. So the goal, my point is that the goal, at least my personal goal, my suggestion would be to first of all, naturally to tip the scale towards the positive aspects. So ethically, I think this is our purpose. And then to deliver value to the users and safeguard them as research participants, as members of a specific target group, whatever that is. And finally, as consumers. There are solutions out there. There are directions of research that we can take. Some of them are listed over there, along with some personal projects that we run at SINTEF Digital in Norway. So one very, and we're not reinventing the wheel here. One very simple suggestion would be to involve the target group during the design stage, so as early as possible. In this case, we had like a Norwegian sign language project where we invited actual users with hearing impaired very, very early in the process. Then also develop co-located experience. So single user experience are fine, but at some point we need some people being together, mostly for mental health purposes. And we have a 3D projection mapping project, a Norwegian one called Guy Westerholm, and that it also extends into the Resist EU project. Privacy preserving learning, privacy preserving policies and federated learning models. Those are solutions that can be used. We did when we actually documented the dark practices from the MetaQuest, a native application of the MetaQuest. And finally, make artificial intelligence more explainable. Explain what is happening. Don't treat it just as a black box, at least on the user side of it. And finally, have some offline functionality and experience, trying to limit the environmental footprint. Again, this is just some suggestions. There are more, way more. But the thing is that these kind of suggestions can formulate hypotheses that we, as researchers and part of the academia, we can look forward into those and inform the research field and consequently the industry. Thank you.
Thank you, Kostas. Great balance between academia and industry here. So, Alexandros.
Yeah, so I will lower down a little bit the level with the industry. Yes. So I don't have a slide, but I thought that it's maybe better to share a story, and through that explain a little bit my point of view on immersive technology. So more or less a year ago, I had a problem with my washing machine, and through a service journey, including multiple calls with call centers, chatbots, bureaucratic forms, endless hours of waiting, I just realized that my issue wasn't fixed. So I wasn't struck by the fact that a system didn't work. It was, for me, the point that I realized that we delivered as designers in an industry, we delivered projects, technology that most probably helps the consumer. But instead of that, and instead of feel secure as a consumer, I felt lost in the gaps between those systems that couldn't talk to each other. So my realization on that day was that innovation and technology is as powerful as the human experiences it creates, and all the technologies along with that. And with technology, we can go on and on with AI, artificial intelligence, or augmented reality, or immersive interfaces. But all of those things exist, and they're not just tools, they're environments that we use and we live day by day, especially in current days. In Kotsovolos, for example, we transform our stores from transactional hubs and just point of like a brick and mortar point of taking a product and bring it home into connected experience centers. For example, with augmented reality, you can just visualize in a store how a product would look like in your own house, or AI can curate your choices and helps a sale, or a blend between what is physical and what is digital can create some seamless experiences. And this is not something very futuristic. This is something that happens, and consumers actually want that. But Here, there's a challenge that we see as part of the industry. Nothing matters in terms of technology if the human doesn't trust the system. Trust is the foundation of adoption. And in order to adopt, and in order for a human to share data or go along with one system, it needs to feel that this is transparent, there's transparency, there's privacy, or that it feels empowerment rather than just a monitoring act. And here is how we as designers, we feel the role of designing and embracing technology to support what the value, the added value for the end user will be, but also to respect human boundaries. And with that, and personally, as a human being that really loves to find new ways and always trying AI accelerated design tools or technologies to support my day life on the field, but also on a personal level. If we just, as a standpoint, let's say from this small talk, if we remove the human out of this emerging technologies and this new way of thinking, we won't be able to create meaningful, trustworthy experiences that users will trust. And at the end of the day, as designers, what we want to do is to create a future, to design a future, not only that is advanced, but that is human. And yeah, that's from me.
Thank you so much. So the floor is for Maria Kontogiorgou.
Hello, can you hear me? Thank you very much for the invitation. I would like to thank you from here. And also, I mean, on my side, I'm not an academic, and I always find very interesting the approaches because they're profound, they're quite distilling what is happening in theoretical aspects. And working as a user experience designer and consultant in quite, let's say, demanding environments globally, and lived quite some transformations, we see the importance of us as designers, the role we have on that. And it's not just, provide a good solution just for the system and how we can make it more efficient, but how can we be ethically bound with that and keep always a foundation around the values we bring with the solution we offer. So it's not always about bringing something that it works fine and it serves a business right, but it also keeps these ethical boundaries from the users, because users very often need something and they're ready in order to do it, go through with everything. And this, whatever they leave behind, traces, data, elements that may be misused. And there's not always a decent way of treating users. So this sort of manipulation is something that it may be massive, especially agreeing with all my peers from this panel happening right now with AI and all these technologies that we don't know where they're going and their capabilities, and they keep growing and growing. And we have the excitement while at the same time we have the fear of unknown, not in a negative way per se, but the fear of how people will use it, because there is greed, there is a lot of negative around. There is a lot of negativity that is covered with other type of uses, right? So I think our goal should be, as academics or designers or people of contributing to the future, how we keep this foundation around the human side of it, and how we can keep feeding it for good, using it, and always setting up this ethical, let's say, boundaries around making it for the good purpose, and always consider indeed the human side. Also my piece mentioned before. So I think we stand in a very thin line, designing something efficient for the client, right? Which it can be amazingly done, but also respecting the users and their rights on it. So, I mean, I would like to make that a bit more interactive. I'm happy to take questions. So that's all for me for now. Thank you very much.
Better, thank you. An issue that I really feel that the two sides of the coin, let's say, in order for the technologies to fulfill their potential, I feel so far that the user has been one aspect that has been keeping them back to truly fulfill the potential, and B, if and how, I feel that it's not, if the UX design has been keeping up with the technological advancements, and if not, I feel not, that how will we achieve this, both from the academic and the industry perspective? Thank you. The same order, please. Or really arbitrary. Who wants to go? Eeny, meeny, miny, mo. Okay, go. Yes, can it keep up with the advancements? Is it keeping up? I feel not.
I mean, not really, up to an extent, but I don't think really it keeps up. And many people, I mean, user experience, it has been a massive boom, like 15 years ago. They derived from different directions, myself included, having 3 different backgrounds. And people love technology, and we loved, you know, designing systems. We jumped on it, and we just did the job, right? Of course, you have people getting different type of training, etc., doing that today, but I think the user experience is not just one thing. It is many things, you know, and it has to do not with sterile design things. It is much, much bigger than that. It's how we can, especially now, how we can really embrace and understand what we want to bring from a physical perspective to a digital perspective. And it's very vague what I'm saying, because it's not just one thing, right? An experience is built from everything, pretty much everything. So, I mean, some designers can keep up if they can really imagine things, and they can be really creative, and they can, you know, find their way to bring that type of experiences, but it's very hard even to integrate. So we might have very creative people doing miracles, even into very big companies. I give an example from my latest experience in Philips, in the design team in Amsterdam, where they have in their DNA building beautiful products you know, in terms of R&D. And then when, I mean, I would go a bit wild because it is in my nature, they would love it. They would love it. This is it. That's how we should merge, bring IoT, we make them smart, and that's how we should do it. But then they were quite hesitant. And we're talking about a company that they do love innovation. They would go wild. They are innovators. So it's very hard for big companies to merge this type of thing. It's very difficult to innovate because innovation brings risks, and bringing something new that people don't know, it's very, very big risk, and you need someone quite crazy to go through. So user experience can be really insane. It can bring, you know, we can have beautiful things happening, but I think it will take a bit of time, because I don't think the companies are ready. We put our hopes in our startups. I mean, I'm running a startup right now, and we're building a smart shirt where measures breathing real time. And I can tell you it's a very hard route. I mean, we're making it, but we're just solving problems, and we just, you know, every time we need to fight with our own, let's say, way of breaking boundaries continuously in everything. And we need to be bold and daring just ourselves. They will be, no, it is too much. No, play safe, play safe. No, you don't have to play safe if you want to bring some great experiences forward. And that requires other elements, just budgets. So that's, I don't want to monopolize, so please.
Well, yeah, I agree in terms of business. I agree completely. To my point of view, it's not the UX or the user experience in general that it doesn't keep up. It's actually humans that they don't keep up with the technology anymore in that much, because user experience wasn't in the scene like 25, 30 years ago. So obviously, from a business perspective, when there's budget, when there's a return of investment, when there's customers right in front of you waiting for something that they're actually scared of, that something that you're trying to build on them actually every day. Maybe they don't use ChatGPT every day. It's something that might downgrade a little bit the level of risks that a company can take. And obviously talking from a Greek, let's say in Greek industry, this is significantly lower as well. I wanted to see more from academia in order to push more into that from that perspective and push or help businesses more from their more imaginary, let's say, from their imaginary point of view, and they have more ease or like a bigger, let's say, area in order to take a risk, and maybe a company will help there. So yeah, I would agree on that.
I also agree with your last point that we also have like a responsibility, if you want to call it, if that's not a word, as researchers to also help the companies and establish some frameworks, processes, in order for UX to become UX or whatever you want to call it, like involving the human, let's call it, early in the design process of a product, because usually product comes first and then we or whoever comes later and does the UX thing and the research on something. So if we could take this process a little bit earlier and have the human in the loop early on in the process, I think we could solve many things. But definitely, I wouldn't realistically expect from a company that's under a strict budget or whatever, or a startup, to focus on the human element right away, right from the start. I mean, realistically, I would like, I would like. I mean, that's good. Yeah. So that would be like the ideal thing. But on the other hand, I can understand why company wouldn't. Because I think when it's like money on the table, yeah, exactly. Like that mentality. I think that's what we need more. That's my point.
I'm sorry, just this point. I mean, this point that my colleague, my peer here refers is indeed, I mean, people, they used to neglect human experience, right? The user experience as secondary, as not important. But I think it's the same mistake that humanity has done with the emotional part of things and the psychological part of things. We totally neglected it. We focus on science, something that we can understand, that it can be concrete. And now we sort of like receiving the results of it, you know? So I think with the time we're going to get there and we're going to start being human first and then the rest, because at the end of the day, we build them for us. We build them for the humans, right? They have to serve. This is the main goal. So
I kind of agree with everything. Like Maria speaks very nicely and I agree with her, but I kind of want to play a bit of devil's advocate here. I also agree with you that the UX is declining. We do not really use it as much. Systems are actually faster being built and there's no time to involve UX, and it's kind of happening without us. But is that necessarily a bad thing? Isn't it a good thing that we have less UX or the need for less UX? I'm not sure. And then we try as researchers and Europeans to over-regulate, define processes, define models, define frameworks, and things are going too fast, and perhaps there's no point, if you see what I mean. So I'm not sure if I'm playing devil's advocate here or I'm just being pragmatic. So yes, maybe UX is declining. Yes, it is declining. Is that a bad thing?
Declining or not keeping up? It's a question, but I'm surprised to hear that as academics we're not bold enough. I think we're more investigative in many aspects. So thank you. Really interesting positions. Perhaps if we have time, balance between technical and experience aspects of success could be another topic. But we're having great questions from Slido that I grouped using, of course, AI. The first one refers to ethics, transparency, and trust. We've been touching on that. So, what are the most pressing and the most dangerous aspects regarding ethics and trust? This is a more dystopic question. And let me add the second aspect, and perhaps we can have one round about the human values. This is a more positive aspect. How can these technologies serve, align and serve the human values that we support and encourage in society overall? Thank you.
Okay, I think this works now. I think to your first question about the ethics and trust, the most dangerous aspects of this, my first idea is that the most dangerous, because the world is not a uniform place, huh? There's different underlying assumptions for Arabic countries, for European countries, for African countries, for even in countries that are similar, like America, US, and Europe. You know, it's not a country, but you understand what I'm pointing at. So I think the most dangerous aspect is not talking, not understanding, building walls. I think that's the most dangerous thing about ethics and trust. I think we need transparency. We need to be different in also the way we understand ethics and we understand trust, but have the conversation going.
Yeah, I also think that transparency might be one way to address that. Definitely, ethics and trust are. I mean, right now they're kind of under a lot of much danger, especially with the rise of artificial intelligence and fake news, mistrust, and all those things. And at the same time, we as researchers are facing kind of difficult situations when it comes with when it has to do with how we like perform our daily activities. And I think since there is a lot of noise out there, the only way to put those to filter out this noise is by being transparent, and that goes, I mean, to like a general context, like a citizen first of all, and then and later on as a researcher or an academic as well. Definitely, those are whatever we see today. They are tools, and that create difficult situations sometimes. So it's up to us to be open about how we use them and always be updated with like the effect that they have in our lives and other people's lives.
Yeah, I like the last word of how we use them. It's, to me, definitely is how you use a tool. What if you're asking the right questions in order to be ethic or to create trust, you can definitely have a very, I don't know, you can have a super transparent, super trust tool, but you can create dark ethics out of it. So it's all also depends on how you use it. putting your values, the values of the things that you're designing for up front. But definitely it's a major issue, ethics and trust on those technologies. So yeah, that's.
For me, in this, I would keep it very simple for a complex matter like this, and it would be human greed. I think we shouldn't be greedy. We should build, having in mind that we build something to offer quality of life, to improve things, to do better things, and use it for the good. So go very, I think using that such a high technology and what is in front of us is going back to really this very simple, like the foundation of just keep things for good and not try to misuse them and not try to do things to harm. And users also bring their responsibility on their end, except for the designers and the academics and everyone, because the users have a lot of power in their hands now. And the way we all use, how I use it, how you use it, how everybody's using it, they bring the same responsibility of having this ethical question in mind, not to misuse and not try to utilize it for very wrong purposes. So I think all of us collectively, we're going to be responsible for what is coming. So it's not they, an abstract thing, it's us, all of us, how we keep that in mind and not be greedy in any way.
All right, so I would like to thank you all for this very interesting conversation. I know that maybe there are questions from the audience. However, the time is already what we have planned for our conference. So perhaps we can allow one question from the audience. I also have a couple of questions, but I will make them, but not. I will not need an answer. I will make them for food of thought for all of us later on. If there is maybe a question from the audience, we can take. So, Mr. Liras, of course. Just.
Whereas I'm going to say something, a very simple or simplification, just to make a point here, that 500 years ago or 1,000 years ago, people were passing simple messages to each other. The world wasn't simple. They just made the right abstractions. And people, leaders did it, philosophers did it, religious leaders did it, people that were trying to manipulate, but you knew where they were going. The problem with science, I find, is that it doesn't make it clear where things are going or where people are going with it. This is something that humans always do. They read into the science and they do the same. But science has always moved away from that. When you read an abstract of a paper, a scientific paper, it doesn't tell you where somebody's going with something. It tells you about what they think that they produced or something. It's not where they're going with it. We know that people produce things and they're going in various directions with it. So these various directions we have to come back to. We can't pretend like they don't exist because they're not scientific. We know that the governments are pushing things. We know that companies are pushing things. We know that products are pushing things. We know that TikTok is pushing things. Why don't we come out and say what we think they're doing rather than only looking at what are factual, which is great. You can't go too far in one direction. You can't assume without looking at what they actually do. But without those assumptions, we are making ourselves basically very difficult to communicate with each other. You're all saying we should talk to each other. Talk about what when we can't agree that somebody's going something. Generative AI wasn't put on the table for no reason. Why don't we talk about that?
So thank you all. Some keep like points that arose is like we're back to human values after all, beyond technology, and perhaps we should work on building experiences that will make us bloom and not doom. So with a positive thought, thank you all for
Can I add
staying
something
this
here?
late. Yes, of course.
I would perhaps take it one step before that, not in human values, but even before that, people's innate nature, because values can be different. Oops. But if it's people's innate desire to make meaning, people's innate creativity, then it's something that it's inherent inside people themselves, and values is something that we can discuss about. It's a second layer.